What is happening, you guys? Welcome back to Let's Go Win podcast. We're here for a Tuesday tune-up, and we are talking about habits. Now, I know sometimes you hear habits and you're like, that's not that exciting. I think you're going to really like what the guest we have today is going to talk about. At least I'm passionate about it, and he is a really fascinating guy. Martin Theis grew up in a small town along the Rhine River in Germany. He started his own coaching practice, Light Trails Co., after a decade of exploring non-ordinary and ordinary reality. The tools and teaching he uses are a combination of disciplines he learned from his teachers, yet the strongest foundation lies within the medicine wheel and the art of shamanic journeying. I'm in, man. That sounds fascinating. Welcome from you're back in Germany right now, aren't you?
Yes, I am. Thank you. Thank you for the great welcome.
Brother, it's truly my pleasure. So when I say habits, brother, again, I think what you're going to talk about, it is something that is a part of your routine. It's a part of your
Yeah.
everyday, but sometimes habits has such a negative connotation. But I think what you're bringing to the table is fascinating. So talk to me about what you're passionate about, man. What are you working on?
So I would say the current situation is that in everything I do, in every confrontation I have, in every interaction I have, I really try to see what's going on inside me and how am I projecting my emotions, all my judgment on people, and then to just feel that and let it go and surrender and say, well, this is not truth. This is my truth at the moment, but only because I have been socialized and kind of like I created negative habits, which is something you talked about, right? But to introduce these positive habits is really important because through the art of compassion, we like my life is really changing drastically through that. It's not as dramatic. I don't need the drama, but it's more loving, more caring relationships, more service. So it's a great shift, and that's why I feel it's such a great tool.
Well, and again, I can't speak to shamanic journey because that's a big word for me, and there's a lot going on. But I have an idea of what I think it is. But you said a word, and that's surrender. This is one of my favorite words to explore. It's something I constantly am working on, and I like how you're saying you look inward before you look outward, right? And so, tell me more about shamanic journeying, brother. And what is that? What does that mean exactly?
So it is an ancient tradition. I was taught in the lineage of the Lakota Native Americans, which are in the North Dakota, South Dakota, and Wyoming area, the Great Plains up there. And so what it is we close our eyes, lie down, and a drum or a rattle, if you're in South America, is shaken and drummed. And we journey into this non-ordinary reality you introduced me with, where it can be compared to dream time or dreams where we go when we sleep and where we can fly, where we can breathe underwater, all these things that we usually cannot do. It is a form of reality, but not the same as the one we are in. So we sometimes dismiss dreams and say, well, this was just a dream. But the dreams can actually teach us so much if we open up to that possibility that it is a kind of reality, only not as maybe not ruled by different laws. And in a shamanic journey, we will travel there. We will go and find our totem animals, which is our potential shown in animal form. We can go into traumatic situations. Sometimes, if something really painful happens, a part of us gets kind of split off, and it stays in that kind of like traumatic situation. So we can travel there, take it back, integrate it, and then have that energy that was lost, that small part, back in us. And so there's so many possibilities that it's really difficult what it is. But basically, just to give you a picture, it's a meditation where pictures come up, feelings come up, sensations in the body, and we work that with that. We breathe with that, and we just explore.
Yeah. So again, you said the word energy because whether you're consciously awake or you're sleeping, or you hear people even say daydreaming, where things come into our head, and energy, this is a world of energy. What I'm hearing is you're saying, okay, there's something here. Let's explore it without judgment. Maybe be aware of it is kind of how I am conceptualizing this, is I'm aware of what's happening. And is that, so you talked about meditation. Is that something that as you're in your meditative state and this comes up, that you're exploring that without judgment? Is that kind of the idea, or am I way off base?
Mm, I don't know, because I would say there will be judgment if I'm talking about myself when I'm doing a shamanic journey, where it's kind of like we're at the root of what makes us tick, and what are our patterns and everything. So when I for example, when I am attending a workshop, not when I'm leading it, but when I'm attending it, my biggest feeling is I did it wrong, I made some mistakes, I'm not good enough. All these things will come up, and that's pure judgment in my opinion. So it is to work with that, see that this is also something that keeps me from growing, and through these journeys to really see there's no point in doing that, and to be able to let go step by step by releasing, like making baby steps, and through that being able to continue onward with the more positive and maybe whole, kind of like the whole holistic mind and kind of body, spirit, emotions.
Got it. So talk to me about, on a daily basis for you, mindfulness, meditation. What does that look like? And if it's so substantial, what should it look like, or what could it look like for somebody that has, again, it's not their everyday profession like yourself.
Yeah.
It's something that they have a family, they have work, they have kids, they have all these things. How can we incorporate more mindfulness, more meditation into our habits so that we can get some of the amazing benefits that you've experienced, Martin, and that you're teaching so many people in your practice today?
Yeah, I would say when you introduce these lifestyles, or if I'm really tied into my life situation, I have a lot of responsibility, I have only little spare time, then it's difficult to start that. But what we can always do is to focus on our breath, or just breathe. If it's building up, if I feel like I feel heavy, or there's something going on, I can always take the time to just take 4 or 5 breaths. If we would do that every time we feel that, it gets much lighter really quickly. But I would say find a teacher or a spiritual book that people like, where somebody, because the interesting thing with these teaching is Wayne Dyer or Eckhart Tolle or Ellen Watts, all these kind of spiritual authors, is while they speak, they are very present. And so while we listen, we get kind of drawn into that presence, and it helps us to become more present and to not overdo it. It's not important to do it 30 minutes or an hour every day, just 10 minutes in the morning are kind of like creating a good baseline to start in the day, and to then focus on our breath, or just become aware of our surroundings, watch, kind of like look at the flower or something. Every time when we feel we're pacing through, when kind of like pacing through the day, then to just like stop and then create that mindfulness. And that surrender is also a good part, because if I notice that I'm creating a judgment, or somebody did something that annoyed me or made me angry, to then just see, okay, well, here it is again. There's that emotion. Okay, why am I angry? Not important. Feel the emotion, breathe, and then it dissipates. If I want
Yeah.
to have it go away, then it's just getting stronger. But if I accept it, then it's just slowly fading.
Yeah, and I will speak to the breathing thing because I use this every single day. One of the things I try to do is just quiet the mind, and that never really made sense to me until I really spent a lot of time thinking about how creative, destructive, and creative, amazing our brains are. And so we'll have this dialogue going on inside our head and it's running you around ragged when the truth is, like you said, let's just stop. And I'll even say, stop. Let's focus on our breath. Then, if we need to explore further why we're feeling that way, like you said, the emotions, why somebody walks by, do I feel, let's say it's negative energy, I feel it, but that doesn't mean it should have to affect me. And by myself just being able to say, stop, breathe, it stops that dialogue. Now it's going to come right back. For me, it comes back. I am not enlightened, or some of the people that have done so much work, I'm not at that point. But just stopping and breathing, I think, is something that every single one of us can do, and that allows us to kind of respond and not react. Is that kind of the idea for us laymen, really just getting into it? Best ways, best practices to use on a daily?
Yeah, I think so, because the one of the pitfalls, I would say, and I fell into that trap as well, is when we think we do a spiritual practice and we go to workshops and everything, we think there's a goal to attain. There's some point of this will all stop. I'm enlightened and I'm walking through the world that we're living in pure bliss, and everything is just awesome. That is just not happening. There's a great quote from the Buddha that I love, that before enlightenment you chop wood and you carry water, and after enlightenment you chop wood and carry water. So um it is it there, there's I what I always try to say to people, it doesn't matter how long you do this, or if you're at the beginning or at the end, the journey's always now. So there's never this achievement happening. So I think Ram Dass is one of the really famous American spiritual teachers who passed away 2 years ago. And he, shortly before he passed away, was always still working on being present and mindful. And he's seen like a really great person to have brought many teachings to the wide audience, to the Western audience. So I think it's a continuous journey.
Yeah, and I think that's well put, brother. Just because your background, where you're at today, which is beautiful. I love the trees where you're at. And then you mentioned, working with in the Dakotas, Wyoming, and I'm from Montana originally. So nature is a huge part of how I grew up. It's a big part of how I re-energize myself, is by getting back into nature. Talk to me a little bit about how that looks in your practice, what that looks like when you're working with your clients on, hey, ground yourself back into the earth's energy, whether that means no shoes on or that just means getting a little you time in back to nature. Because to a degree, in these concrete jungles, we have lost some of that nature.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important, again, tapping back into the earth's energy, we do get back to nature. So how does that look for you, Martin, on a daily basis?
So it depends, because we just spoke about me being in Hawaii and Europe, uh, uh, going back and forth between them. So in Hawaii, it comes easy to me. I'm in the ocean much. I'm in the sunlight. I enjoy going through the forest. So I'm very, very close to nature. But when I go back to Germany, it's kind of like integration time, because, like you said, concrete jungle, living in cities, and much, much more people. Like Germany is a place where we have 82 million people in a really small country. So it's really difficult to bring that into that daily routine. But what I would say, through the teachings of the shamanic journeys that I did, I got closer to animals and nature, and I was not interested in that before. So by working with these images, we learn how they nourish us, and then we seek them out in the reality, in this world. So we feel much better how they recharge us. And like you said, I just recharge in that, and we have gotten too far away from that, and that's why, in my opinion, there's a lot of destruction going on, because it's just like we can't feel, or many people can't feel themselves anymore, and so they don't feel what happens with the outside world and how it kind of destroys it, our habits, our negative habits. And so I feel through these teachings, we get, like, it is a overused phrase maybe, but everything is connected, you know. And as soon as we feel that my life is not more important than an ant's life or whatever, they fly, then we start to appreciate life and to really respect everything and every person in on their journey of life.
Well, and you know what? It doesn't take much to go find a park. I mean, again, you're in Germany. I'm looking at this background, great trees. I think there's a lake behind you. Like, you are back in nature, regardless of 80 some odd million people in that
Yeah,
country. There's always, even in New York, go to Central Park. You
absolutely.
go find that grass and re-energize yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
Brother, I'll just give you it's already been 15 minutes. It flew by. But any last thoughts and places that they can connect with you if they want to know more about what you're doing, Martin, and the work that you're into?
Yeah, so like you said, Light Trail Co or co is my domain. So you just go lighttrails.co. That's my domain, and I am only on Instagram, but I have a profile account there, and I will be putting out some YouTube videos, meditation videos, shamanic journeys, also Light Trails. CO is my brand name, and other than that, feel free to reach out. Everybody who's interested, I love to just give you some recommendations or do a free session, whatever is beneficial. I love to share that.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it. Again, these are things I know I've dipped my toe in the water a little bit, but I love hearing more about these journeys. And again, places that I've spent a lot of time in Wyoming, the Dakotas. I didn't even know that was a thing. So it's fascinating to find a gentleman from Germany goes there, learns these amazing things, and now you're bringing it to the rest of the world. And I think that's fascinating. So, brother, I so appreciate you coming by. Have an amazing conference in Germany, and when you get back to your special place in Hawaii, I know you'll get to recharge even more. So thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Guys, I guess I would just say, again, giving yourself that time back, doing a little meditation, breathing. He talked about just breathe, just slow down and breathe. That allows you to slow down what's happening inside your brain. And as I tell you every single week, remember, your mindset matters so much. I appreciate you guys. Remember to like, subscribe, share, follow, send it out to the world, man, because we want more people like Martin that are helping this world. We want them out there, and you guys can help us do that. So we will talk to you very, very soon. I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much for listening. If this content is delivering value to you, please make sure to subscribe, rate, and review us. That helps us build this community, and that is what we are all about. Building this community as big as we can, helping as many people as we can, and deliver as much value as possible. Be sure to head over to letsgowinpodcast.com for information on my coaching courses, and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Let's Go Win 365. Let's go win and transcend in life.
This is the Let's Go Win podcast with your host, J.M. Ryerson.